Folks, welcome back to Buchanan Park, where we are seeing the 50th annual Mount Isa Rodeo, and of course we're looking at the winning run of Wendy Caban from Moree in New South Wales. She had an outstanding run throughout the rodeo, and of course we see her now round that final run on that big chestnut horse of hers. And of course she comes in with a great time and wins the overall competition by 0.02 of a second. Of course being presented there by her colleagues, and of course then we move down to the over 50s team roping winners, Bob Armitage and Alan Flood, and our open team roping winners, Robert McPhee and Brad Kavanagh. Of course our second division bull riding was taken out by none other than Chris Kelly on this winning ride here in our final round of the second division bull ride earlier this afternoon. And a great ride there by Chris Kelly, being awarded his sash and buckles from, of course, the lovely Mount Isa Rodeo Queens. As we head into the open bareback ride here this afternoon, Wade Clifford on the horse Done from the McPhee Rodeo Company. Now, of course, let's have a look at the poise and the agility here of the cowboy as he sits up and stays aboard that horse. Now, has none other than a bareback rigging to hold on to during that 8-second ride. And, Steve, a good ride from Wade.
Certainly was. That's a good solid ride, and the objective of this event here is to ride the horse for 8 seconds. And once again, you can't touch that horse with the free hand. On the first jump out of the chute, that cowboy must have his spurs in or over the break of the horse's shoulder, and the spurring action that the judges are looking for is right from the point of the shoulder right to that rigging.
Well, let's have a look at this ride. Robbie Frizzell this time on the horse Hangover. He's got to stay aboard now for that 8-second ride, and of course stays up on the horse for that 8 seconds. However, a no score indicated from our judges. Let's have another look at that ride, Steve. And of course, as you mentioned before, the cowboy must keep his free hand in the air at all times during that 8-second ride. It's right about here that we see Robbie grab down with both hands. That's where our judges recognise that cowboy touchdown. Goes out with a no score. Jared Oversby on Poison Arrow, our next contestant this time. The cowboy now once again got to sit up and stay aboard. A difficult horse to stay on there, Steve.
It certainly is, and the horse's bucking is a good bucking style of the horse. The guy really wasn't riding the horse any good at all. It wasn't the sort of style the fella's looking for. The judges really are looking for a good spurring style. And I just spoke about the disqualifications, and unfortunately you can see that fella is so unhappy because he just missed his horse out, missed his mark out.
Talking about good riders, we see Glenn Mansfield this time. The cowboy comes out of the chute gates, showing that true champion style that he's displayed for so many years now. The cowboy spurring up there from front to back. He makes that qualified ride, makes the eject, but unfortunately a no score there for Glenn. And Steve, what's happened with this ride?
Well, Glenn started a real good bareback ride here. That horse is bucking really well, and that spurring style is the type they're looking for, the judges are looking for. But that horse is starting to get away from him a little bit there. He's starting to stretch Glenn out and give him a fair sort of a reefing right there. And after a big weekend, he's his third, fourth horse he's been on. He just reaches down there for that free hand and grabs down.
And a little bit of bad luck there for Glenn Mansfield. But talking about good cowboys, Darren Clark and the horse Best Western is our next example. And of course, Darren done a lot of work on the pro rodeo circuit in the US and Canada. Now, as you can see, that bucking style of the horse, once again, a difficult horse to stay in time with. Darren Clark stays very snappy with his feet. And throughout that 8-second ride, Steve, I'd say a pretty good ride.
A very good ride, Guy, and this guy was third in the world there a couple of years ago, and that style is sort of what got him there, and certainly a great bareback ride and one of the country's best.
Well, an 82-point ride from Darren Clark, but right now we see the young cowboy Stuart Frame now on Isa Gray, the name of the horse, and of course once again we can see that spurring action going up right up the front of those shoulders. It's exactly what the judges like to see, but is the cowboy up for the required 8 seconds? Now, judges give us a 79-point score. Pretty good score there for that one, Steve.
Very good score, and that's actually the horse that Scott Fraser won the first go-round on.
Well, we can see some more action here from the young cowboy Lee Bowker, this time drawn up on the horse Wild Child. Now, as you can see from the bucking action there of that horse, yet again the horse throwing his head and neck in different angles to the way the body's going. Very difficult for the cowboy to stay aboard, but yet another good qualified ride for Lee Bowker.
Yeah, them horses there that do jump around and change directions quite a bit, they are very hard to ride and they're hard to get a good time in with.
Well, talking about cowboys that stay in timing and, of course, horses that buck well. Dynadol, the name of the horse. Scott Fraser, the cowboy from South Australia, this time travelling the many thousands of kilometres to be with us this weekend. And of course, Scott sits up, does that ride for the 8 seconds. We'll just read and confirm with our judges once again. Let's take another look at that ride, Steve.
He makes a good solid ride here, and like this guy hadn't been on a bareback horse or a bull or a bronc for 2 years, and this is the first rodeo he's done in that time, and you wouldn't think he's been gone a day just by watching that guy, the style that he's riding there.
And a good score there for Scott Fraser, a score of 80 points, puts him right up there on the leaders board. Well, we move down to another one of our leaders, Greg Lees this time, Tamworth, New South Wales cowboy on the horse In June. Now again, another difficult horse to stay aboard and keep in time with. All right, now we can see there though that flank strap, the wool covered flank strap came off the back of the horse. Now judges will be awarding that cowboy a re-ride. We'll confirm with him shortly if he's to take that re-ride.
He'd be very disappointed with that, Greg, because that horse really does start out there really good, really bucking, and a lot of money gets won on that horse. And unfortunately, you'll see there he kicks back there, and Greg's back must get caught on that flank and trips the flank. Now, it'd be a hard decision whether he'd take a re-ride, because he still made a good ride in that bareback horse, and there's only probably 2 seconds in it, so he needs to be something like 77 points on this re-ride horse.
Well, he's taken that option of the re-ride, this time drawn up on a great horse from the McPhee string, the horse Slater. This time down in chute number 6, Greg Lees takes his re-ride almost immediately. Another snappy horse out across the arena. Greg stays in good timing. Now, once again, spurring up the front of that shoulder, makes the qualified 8-second ride, and a pretty good ride there, Steve.
Certainly was, and he's a tough horse to get rode. Like a lot of the guys don't like getting on that horse because he is so hard to ride, and you'll see he always starts out there pretty good, and then he'll get covering a little bit of ground, gets Greg back on his arm, and just really gets to jerking on him, and that's where it gets hard to maintain that good body control, and once you lose that body control, you also lose control of your feet.
Talking about good body control and good feet control takes Greg Lees to the lead with a score of 236 points, sharing that winnings with Scott Fraser. Lee Bowker in for 3rd place with 230 points, Wade Clifford 225, and Stuart Frame finishes on 222.